Welcome to the Saturday Sports Show here on Tameside Radio. I hope you're all having a great weekend so far. This is a bit of a pre-recorded segment here as Mark will be out and about, pottering about at games. He never stops, this man. So we are joined by Mark Phillip at the moment, Head of Sport here at Quest Media. Mark, lots of talking points. What's the big news in local sport at the moment?
Well, there's been 3 manager departures this week, George, at Ashton United, at Mosley and at Buxton. So Buxton, it was Paul Phillips that left after a 2-0 defeat to Stalybridge Celtic last weekend. At Hurst Cross, Ashton United, Jody Banningham's gone after a 4-0 defeat to Nantwich Town, and he's been replaced by Addison Colliery's boss, Michael Clegg. And then, of course, we've also got Mosley assistant manager John Flanagan. He's left the club after a 4-0 defeat at Brighouse Town last weekend.
Unbelievable that there's so many managerial departures. We're going to hear from Mosley, aren't we? A little bit later in the show as for why John Flanagan has left the club. But just briefly, what did you get out of the whole John Flanagan situation at Mosley?
It was a bit of a strange one because you look at it on the face of it and you think it's a great appointment. He's got a lot of experience, of course. I think he started his managerial career with Mosley about 11 years ago or so. Went on to Curzon Ashton, took him from the lowest ranked side in Tameside to the highest, got him on a great FA Cup run, brought in loads of money for the club. So he has worked wonders as a manager. He's not been in the dugout since Curzon. He went there as assistant boss. But my feeling always was, he's a full-time manager, he's not an assistant. He'll want to implement his own ideas, he'll want to execute his own plans, and maybe working with someone that had other ideas, maybe there was a bit of conflict. I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll find out a little bit more than that later on. And briefly, just on Ashton United as well. You know, when I was head of media at Ashton, we had that famous season where Ashton United went up. You know, they finished second, Workington, last day of the season, that final goal. Unbelievable, and it was just a little bit of a fairy tale story because they should never have been in that situation. Jody Banningham worked wonders. Obviously, the National League North was the National League North. You know, it was always going to be tough. And then you come into this season, they've spent a lot of money and they haven't been able to deliver. And it's a bit sad that way.
Yeah, it's sad,
isn't it?
But I think you look at Jody Banningham's success when he took him to the National League North. Great manager, but they were always punching above the weight, weren't they? You look at the sides in that division then, York City, Stockport County, Kidderminster Harriers, clubs like that, former Football League clubs, you're always going to struggle. I think Ashton had the lowest average home attendance by far in that division, and that was before the new joint chairman came in. They had no money, they were open about it. So for him to do stuff like that on a shoestring budget, magnificent stuff. I have to admit, given the recruits over summer, I thought they'd be pushing well up the table. They're currently struggling. They're only a few points above the relegation zone. And when you've invested all that money into a club, as the chairman, you're thinking, we've got to make a change. We're going into Christmas now, and this is when you look at a table and you think, we could really be struggling if we don't make a change. So naturally, I think it had to happen. I think we'll see Jody back in the dugout, pretty soon. Maybe not this season, maybe next season. He's got a great track record, and I think at another club, he could work wonders.
I had a great relationship with Jody, so we wish Jody Banningham and Simon Woodford all the best as well.
Maybe we'll see him in a dugout in Tameside. You never know.
You never know. So, Mark, moving on to today's footballing fixtures, we'll get onto a few other sports later on. If I said to you, you can have £54,000 for 90 minutes of work, what would you say?
I'd bite your hand off, George.
Well, that's exactly what Oldham Athletic have got in store today.
I was going to say, are you offering me that money? Or
no,
what?
I can offer you a tenner.
I'll take it.
You'll take it. Oldham Athletic, they take on Burton Albion today in the FA Cup second round. They've been in a little bit of an upturn of form for Oldham. Beating Newport last weekend, we said that had never happened. Unbeaten in 3 now. Obviously, Burton in League One, heavy favourites in this one, but it's the magic of the FA Cup. How many times have you said that during your sports career?
I know.
Magic of the Cup.
The magic of the Cup. But it is magical, isn't it? I mean, you look at it, it's only the second round and there's 54 grand up for grabs. For a League 2 side like Oldham, who was struggling this season, don't get the greatest home attendances, £54,000 can work wonders, can't it? It is magical, but they have got a tough ask against Burton Albion. Then again, they had a tough ask against Newport last weekend. Newport flying high in League 2, and they went and got that 1-0 victory. So, fantastic result for Dino's side. But, like I said then, Burton play a division above Oldham, the mid-table at the moment, and they got a victory at Sunderland on Tuesday. So, you look at that and you think, they've just beaten a former Premier League side at the Stadium of Light. They are doing well this season. I can see them maybe not just getting into the playoffs, but just outside the playoffs. So, it will be a tough ask, no doubt about it.
There will be, and you talk about £54,000. Now, I must state that these are strictly rumours, but there are rumours about a potential winding up order at Oldham. So that must add a lot more icing to that cake.
Well, I think as a manager, Dino must be feeling the pressure. I'm sure Abdallah spoke to him and said, look, this is a situation at the club financially. We could really do with a cup run. This has to be a priority. And it does. I think for any club, regardless of your financial situation, to play 90 minutes of football and guarantee yourself 54 grand, you've got to make it a priority. We all know clubs struggle, especially in League Two, with the crowds they get. If you go down into the conference and financially you are up the creek, aren't you? Let's say it bluntly.
You are. It's all speculation at the moment, we should add. So hopefully Oldham can get the business done today. Moving on to... Sorry,
I was just going to say it. In terms of managers, we've said then about Dino, the pressure he's under. What about Phil Parkinson at Sunderland? Apparently... Yeah. After that defeat to Burton on Tuesday, the home crowd were wanted him axed, basically. Wanted him sacked.
They've been awful since he's taken over. I know quite a few Sunderland fans that regret wanting Jack Ross sacked, because it seemed like he worked wonders with that squad. Now we're seeing how it really plays under Phil Parkinson. So there's not a lot of time for managers. Unai Emery's just been sacked as Arsenal manager as well. 18 months. 18 months seemed like a long time for a manager nowadays.
I think the problem up at the Stadium Light is they still have the mentality of we're a Premier League club, but you're not anymore. You're in League One. It's your second season in League One. Yeah, you got to the playoff final last season. Yeah, you got to the Checker Trade Trophy final last season. So ultimately, you did have a fairly promising, memorable season, but you just didn't deliver at the end. You're not a Premier League club anymore. You are League One. Stick with a manager who has you in mid-table. Jack Ross did a pretty good job last season. Just because he's going through a bit of a rough patch, you shouldn't get rid of him. That's how you destabilise a club.
And now you see only 2 wins, only won 2 games, in 11 there. So Curzon Ashton, no game for them this weekend, Mark. But I feel like since 3 weeks ago when we were saying they're probably going to, they could be very much in a relegation battle this season. Win 3 on the bounce. Where does that come from?
I know, it's great to say. I have to admit, I was kind of writing Curzon off and saying, it's just not worked out. But it's great to see that they've won 3 consecutive games. Last weekend, a 3-0 victory over Kidderminster in the FA Trophy. And let's not forget, Kidderminster are a full-time side. And once again, it was the Curzon curse. Kidderminster got rid of the manager after that defeat. I think it's happened with York City as well on 2 occasions now. Curzon just seem to be a few teams' bogey sides. But for me, it's just great to see Curzon doing well. I'm glad that they pocketed the prize fund as well last weekend. I think it was it £3,700, something like that?
£3,750.
So it's just fantastic. I hope they can maintain this. I think the last thing that they would have wanted was a break this week. When you're on a run, you've got a bit of momentum behind you. You just want to keep on playing. Unfortunately, they don't have that this weekend, but they will know who they're facing in the next round of the FA Trophy. So they've actually drawn AFC Fylde away. They are the current holders of the trophy after winning it last season. They've got a new manager in Jim Bentley who's got back-to-back victories. He's just taken them to 18th in the table, so they're on a bit of a run as well.
Interesting to see Jim Bentley take that position, as he was one of the longest-serving managers in the EFL, but he knows he's got a budget down there at Fylde. And it's not just on the pitch that Curzon Ashton are improving as well, is it, Mark?
No, it's not. So off the pitch, the Tameside Stadium's going to be opening its doors on Wednesday, the 11th of December, and that's for up to 80 older adults. And the event's being coordinated by Curzon Ashton's Community Foundation, and it will give those in attendance a free 3-course meal. And the club's also going to be holding a weekly mindfulness and wellbeing session from Friday, the 13th of December. And for more information on that, contact Andy at curzon-ashton.co.uk.
Absolutely fantastic from Curzon Ashton there. We'll move 1 division down to the Bet Victor Premier Division. Ashton United host Radcliffe today. A tough game for Ashton, and they've got a new manager at the helm who won't be in charge today. It's Michael Clegg. Speaking on bogey teams, Ashton United's last 3 managers have all left after a defeat to Nantwich Town.
Yeah, I saw that crazy. Online. Yeah, it is crazy. But
courtesy of Jez for that one.
Jez Sale. Yeah, we said on last week's show, George, even though Nantwich are flying high in the league and Ashton are struggling, to be playing them at home, you've got to come out with it with at least a draw. We said, just don't lose today, don't lose. And then they go and get battered 4-0. Yeah. And I think, to be honest, like I said before, it was the right time for Jody to leave. We probably will see him back in the dugout soon, but now it's Michael taking over. And you look at his record, I think he got 3 promotions in 5 years at Atherton. He's taken them from being the North West Counties to the Bet Victor Premier Division. For a club of that size, it's absolutely magnificent, and I think he deserved this chance.
Yeah, and are you a bit surprised John Flanagan didn't take the reins? I thought it was perfect.
I've been saying in the office since Banning was sacked or left the club, it's going to be Flanagan. Given his left Mosley, given his ties to the town of Ashton, knowing what his record is, I thought he's an absolute shoo-in for the job. So I have to admit, I was a little bit shocked when Michael was given the job, but on reflection, I think overall, I think it's the right appointment.
So, it'll be Josh Wilson who takes interim charge today, with Damien Crossley and Kieran Bentley still helping out. Interesting to see whether they'll stay when Michael Clegg comes in. But Josh Wilson taking the reins. He's an experienced player. Yeah. Do you think he could be a manager in the future if he's doing this?
Well, from what I've heard of him on the pitch about how vocal he is, and I've been at a few Ashton games this season, he's a very vocal lad. He's probably not someone I want to square up to. Maybe he can get them players fired up from the sideline.
Yeah, I'd be scared of him. So he'd get us doing a job.
He's a big lad as well.
He is a big lad. So that's Ashton. They're taking on Radcliffe today. Rick Smith, incidentally going back to Hurst Cross after his stint at Ashton. I think it was about 3 years ago now. Now he's at Radcliffe doing really well. So wish him all the best today.
I've got to say, just looking at Ashton's squad, we know they're all contracted, but if Michael comes in, do you think he'll have allowance to say, I want to rip this guy's contract up, or can we pay him off as soon as possible?
I think so, yeah.
Because I want to bring in my own players. You look at how they perform this season, say after 4 or 5 weeks, it's still not working well. You have a few players that just aren't performing for the manager. Surely, as a manager, you've got to look at the chairman and say, look, we've got to rip these contracts up and start again.
You'd assume so, wouldn't you? If you want to get a manager in who's going to put their own stamp on things, surely he's been told, look, you can get rid of those contracts. I don't think Ashton are going to be short of money to do it. So interesting to see what will happen at Ashton.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll be following that very closely. So we're going to go to a little break now, and then afterwards we'll be discussing Stalybridge Celtic. We've got an interview with Simon Howarth, and then we'll also be discussing the big talking point, which is John Flanagan, as he left Mosley this week as assistant manager. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show here on Tameside Radio. Still pre-recorded at the moment as we're speaking to Head of Sport here at Quest Media, Mark Phillip, on a very cold Saturday morning. I even know it's going to be cold, even though we're not even in here yet. I know it's going to be cold. So moving on to Stalybridge Celtic, Mark. I've got to say, really impressive how Stalybridge have started this season.
Yep, I mean, third straight league victory last weekend, 2-0 against Buxton, and that actually summoned the end of Paul Phillips' reign in charge at Buxton. So we were talking about this curse before, 3 managerial departures this week. It's not been great, has it? Especially in the lead up to Christmas. One thing I must address as well is, we're not talking about Premier League managers here. We're talking about managers who, maybe have a full-time job elsewhere, but they've still got bills to pay. It's not like Emery, who's going to get, a 6 million payoff or something ridiculous like that.
Similar to Jody Banning's payout, actually.
Well, Jody, if you've got that money, can I have some for Christmas?
Yeah, exactly. I think what we need to talk about, Darius Asay.
Yeah.
Oh my. How good of a signing has he been for Stalybridge?
The stats back it up. He scored 8 goals in 14 appearances, and when he first signed, we all said he might be the man to guide him up the table, and his displays since he's come in, over 14 appearances, show that they've risen up the table. They're currently 5th. They're currently in the playoffs. And it's great to see. We all know they're struggling financially. Chairman Rob Gorski came out last week and said they are. So for Celtic to be there and that position in the table, it does look promising. Hopefully, financially, they can resolve things behind the scenes.
423 people turned up. But do you think that was a great effort and a great turnout after that call to arms from the owner?
Yeah, massively. And I think the people responded. And I think if they continue with this fine form, the gates are only going to get bigger. How good would it be if Celtic were in the playoffs come the end of the season and they were pulling in 800-900? That would revolutionise the club. Even if they didn't get promoted, people would see what the club is all about, and that can only be a good thing.
I think we'd have to do a Saturday Sports special for the playoffs next season, at the end of the season, Mark. So they're taking on Gainsborough Trinity today away from home. Gainsborough currently 21st, but they didn't have a game last weekend, so fresh legs will be a factor.
Fresh legs, but you just got to look at the table. Celtic 5th, Gainsborough 21st. Not not won many games this season. For those that don't follow the BetVictor Premier Division, 21st is second bottom, so that says it all really. Celtic have won 4 games in a row now, because I think they had that cup game as well that they won. So you look at that, you've got to maintain this form, pick up another 3 points, and who knows, if they carry this on, they might even have a title chance. I hope I don't jinx that. I really don't.
I can't believe you've just said that, because everything you say doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
So yeah, I've just jinxed it.
Well, after last week's victory, manager Simon Howarth was delighted with Stalybridge Celtic's performance, and here is what he had to say.
Simon, another win, quite a comfortable win in the end. What are your thoughts?
I thought we were very good again today. I thought we controlled the game, and we could have scored more again, like we keep saying every week. And we've hit the bar, and the keeper's made some real good saves. But I thought it was a controlled win, 2-0. But we defended very well and we attacked very well, and like I said, we were just in total control. And when you're on the touchline, it doesn't feel that way, but looking back on it, and if you were a neutral, you'd say that they were the better team, they worked harder, they created more, and that was probably what we did.
Another win, that's 4 in a row. It's a good run.
Very good run. Confidence breeds that, I think. Early doors we've seen it in snatches, Scarborough and things like that. We lacked a bit of consistency. The 3 or 4 lads we brought in, Darius, you can see today, have given us another level. Him, Jonathan, Smalley, and now we've won a few games. They're starting to believe in what me and Gaz have been telling them. We've believed in them, but it's maybe took them to beat teams like Warrington away and Matlock to start believing. And I thought today was, arguably our best home performance, even though we sort of battered Scarborough. Everything went in for us that night, but tonight we were in total control.
Was there something up with Hobbo at half time?
Yeah, he's just took a kick on the ankle, which has made him come off. We wouldn't have wanted to take him off because Buxton are quite physical and they put balls in your box. But he had to come off with an ankle. I thought Neil did well, worked really hard. He did well at Ashton the other week with Darius, and they have a good understanding. And it was a different threat, a pacey threat up there. But that's what the squad's for. And we said to him at half time, don't give them any opportunity to put the ball in the box. And I thought second half was snuffed out, apart from 10 minutes of pressure that they had. I thought we controlled it.
Ross Dent scored the opening goal. He could have had a couple more, to be honest. He was getting into the box quite a lot.
Yeah, he was back to his best, Ross. I've known him for a while, and that's the Ross Dent that we want. He wasn't himself last week. He'd been ill and different things, but I thought today was the old Ross Dent, and it's a great finish, and he's won a lot of second balls, and he was very good, and it was a good 2 well-worked goals.
And to mention, I think there's 423 inside Barfold today.
Yeah, and it makes a difference, it does. The lads need it. They're attacking that goal, and there's a big support down there, and it drives you on, and hopefully we put on a performance where they'll come back. And like I said to you last week, don't give up on us. If we lose a game, it's going to happen. Stick with us, and this is a good team, and hopefully they can come back in again, and we appreciate them coming today. It makes a difference. Promise me, it makes a difference.
We're away at Gainsborough next week. How do you in the squad keep the run going?
I think the confidence now that they're loving playing, it can't come quick enough. We'll have a good week this week training, and we keep it going. And I've had the luxury of picking a settled 16, and that's been good. And you can see at the end, we're 2-0 up, and they're working so hard for us and for each other, and they're chasing lost causes, etc. So I think the hunger's there now, and they got the bit, in the teeth. I think in this league, especially, but in all football, we're working harder than the other teams, and that's no disrespect to them. We're working harder, and we're getting our rewards. Then we've got a bit of quality going forward, and as I said, I think it was about 5 minutes to go in front of the dugout, and people were making runs and chasing everything, and Darius in injury time chasing lost causes. It's fantastic to see, but that's what winning and confidence and a tight group of lads can do. So long may it continue.
So that was Stalybridge Celtic manager there, Simon Howarth. Speaking about the importance of Darius Asay there as well, he's been fantastic. Sticking with the local football, we've got Mosley Mark. Mosley host Trafford, and what a tough game that is going to be.
Yep.
John Flanagan out of the club. We'll hear a little bit from the manager, Dave Wild, just after we've spoken. And you did say at the start of the season, Mark, Mosley, mark my words, are going up.
Can we not delete that bit? Can we not delete it?
You said they are going up.
No, I did.
Do you retract that?
But no, I don't, because...
So you still think it's going to happen?
Probably not now. Probably not. But you can't have a go at me, because over summer the recruitment there was brilliant. I mean, I think they developed a squad which could easily compete in the division higher. For whatever reason, it's not worked out. Talk about the departure of John Flanagan. He came in, probably wanted to implement his own ideas. As we said before, don't think it worked out. Probably a bit of conflict between the two managers, do you think? If you've got two sets of ideas, it's not going to work.
I fully agree in the fact that conflict's a strong word because they are friends,
Yeah,
but it's always going to be the same. If you've got two different approaches to a task, there's going to be that professional conflict.
Well, that's what you can be friends, but you can still have separate ideas on how you play the game. You know, John's track record speaks for itself. Dave's an up-and-coming manager, and I think they probably did want different things on the pitch. That's probably why John has left. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if he turns up in a dugout in Tameside very soon.
Absolutely, and I think. I like the way it's been handled for me. There's no animosity. It's just, we just had a difference of opinion. Probably didn't expect to be the assistant manager. Just little things like that, but nothing too harsh. But John Flanagan did upset the apple cart a little bit.
Yes, well, someone said when he came in, he rocked the boat and then left with a trail of destruction in his wake. So I think that was a little bit harsh, to be honest. But, facts speak for themselves, don't they? The results speak for themselves. You look at Adam Jones, he left. Last season's top goal scorer, Max Leonard, he left. Legend Mike Fish, he left. And I know a lot of fans weren't happy about that. And from what they were saying online, they were implying that Flanagan had a lot to do with that. So, maybe his departure, maybe we'll see some of these players return. You never know. Yeah,
interesting to see what will happen. But we spoke, the manager Dave Wild offered his thoughts on the situation involving John Flanagan. And this is what he had to say.
Okay, so Dave, thoughts on his game against Brighouse?
Frustrating again. It certainly wasn't a scoreline. It certainly wasn't a performance that reflected the scoreline. I think the first half, Villa, Brighouse will agree, and he has agreed on his post-match interview that I've seen this morning, that we were the better team. We controlled the first half. We were the team playing all the sort of forward-thinking football and trying to break the deadlock, and they sort of sucker punches on the break, which is testament to them and the way they set up. But like I say, we were creative, and on another day we could have been at least 3-0 up at half time, and that completely and utterly sums us up at the moment in terms of luck and and fortune of the group. But I can only sort of defend the lads and back them. They're all continuing to give everything that they've got for the club. They all clearly still want to sort of play for the staff and for the teammates and for the shirt, and for that I can only sort of applaud them. However, second half was not where we need to be. We can't just capitulate like we did. I do appreciate that 2 of the 4 goals for Brighouse yesterday were complete and utter freak goals. Certainly the second one. But Ben Richardson's made a slight mistake for the 4th one, but that's not me calling him out. He knows he has himself. But on any other day, that mistake doesn't go punished, and we just look at it and think, you can do better than that to him and a number of players around the situation. And it's just frustrating because we seem to be getting continued lacks of luck, most certainly in front of goal. So we just continue to work hard as I always do as a manager. The players will continue to do that. I've had multiple conversations with them after last night and this morning, and everything's fine.
Obviously, talking about luck, Ryan obviously said about it last week. Do you think it's a confidence thing, or do you think it's a luck thing?
I really do now think it's boiling down to a little bit of luck. All good teams at this level, above and below, all good teams have fair shares and strikes of luck throughout a season. I'm under no hesitation whatsoever that we'll get that at some point as well. I actually had a phone call with Terry this morning, just to sort of touch base with him as we do as friends and ex-colleagues, and he said it himself. He's obviously down at ABA doing really well now, and he knows himself his fortune will drop out and ours will increase. So I think everyone in the game knows that that's just sort of how it works. It's very up and down, and we'll be okay.
So obviously news has come out this morning around people leaving the club. Any final words on that?
Yeah. Look, John's decided to sort of step away from the club. He came in as, well, he didn't even come in as an assistant manager at the start. He obviously came in to help the staff, which resulted in him becoming the assistant manager. And over the last week or so, we've sort of decided that it might not be the best role for John. He's obviously so used to being a manager at other clubs, and I think it's something that he may look to do elsewhere, or he's just maybe not not bought into the fact of being a number 2, which I completely understand, completely accept. And you know, I knew that could be the case when he came in, and that's not an issue. You know, I've loved every minute of working with him. He'll continue to be my friend. He's been a mentor to me for a number of years, and I'm sure he will continue to do so. I've spoken to him this morning. There's certainly no hard feelings, and you know, the players are wishing well, along with myself, Matt, Fessy, and Eve and Nicole as the physio. We'll all kick on as a group now.
So that was Mozza manager there, Dave Wild, offering his thoughts on what happened with ex-assistant manager John Flanagan. I'm sure more of that is going to come out over the next few weeks. We're going to go to a little break now, and then afterwards we'll be discussing a local footballer who's got a scholarship at Blackburn Rovers, and we've got some interesting news from Oldham Rugby League Club as well. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show here on Tameside Radio 103.6 FM. Going back to the local sport, still joined by Mark Phillip, head of sports here at Quest Media Network. In other news, following on from our local sport, Droylsden were beaten 2-0 at Tadcaster Albion last weekend. However, they don't have a fixture this weekend. And also, Glossop North End were beaten 1-0 by Market Drayton Town last weekend, but are also without a fixture today. Mark, just touch a little bit on Droylsden there. Where's it going wrong? Because they started so well.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it over and over. They're just up and down. They can't find consistency. And for me, with the squad they've got and the goals they're scoring and the weakness in defence, I think a mid-table finish would be a good finish for Dave Pace's side. But it's been going on for years, this now. I think the people of Droylsden and those hardy souls that turn up week in, week out, they want to see more from the Bloods. The Bloods, let's not forget, were a conference side 10, 11 years ago, whatever it was, competing against the likes of Oxford United, Torquay United, all them kind of sides. So for me, when you've been up there challenging at the top, you want to at least see your side make a return. At the moment, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but hopefully, over the Christmas period, maybe in January, we'll see a few new faces and hopefully things will change.
So we'll be keeping a close eye on Droylsden next weekend, as they're not in action this weekend. Neither are Glossop. In other news, it's always nice to see some good news here in Tameside. Audenshaw school pupil Harrison Wood has signed a 2-year scholarship with Blackburn Rovers. The 15-year-old began his career with the club since the age of 9 and has set his sights on a professional career. Mark, you spoke to him about his time with the club, the support he's received from his parents, and what his aims and objectives are for the future. And here is what Harrison had to say.
Buzzing. I'm only 15 years old and I've been there since I'm 9, so it's a club I've joined since young, and I've excited to join for 2 more years, so can't wait for the future.
So you said you joined when you were 9.
Yeah.
I read reports online earlier, people were saying you were too small to play.
Yeah.
You proved them wrong, so that must make you proud as well.
Yeah, it's very proud actually, because my dad always told me to just keep going on. Even when I did get told that, I just kept driving myself, and obviously it's paid off.
So you talk about your dad then. How influential has he been in your success?
Massively. He's just every single day or every single training session, he's always getting at me, even though I thought that I've had a good game. He's always said, you need to improve this or that. So it's improved me massively, and so has my mum. Mum's had a massive influence on me as well.
So obviously, to play for Blackburn, they must have taken you to training sessions over in Blackburn. But I believe as part of the scholarship, you'll be moving to Blackburn. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so when I leave school after my GCSEs, I'll be living at Blackburn in the digs. So it'll just be our teammates, so there'll be 2 of us per room. We actually do stay over a lot because we do go on tours and that, so I'm used to it. So we do have a schedule. On Tuesdays we come out of school to play football, but we do have 2 hours education, so I always got to focus on the education. And even though I've got a school, I'm still going to try my GCSEs.
So how does it work then for your age group?
There's 4 categories, and Cat 1's the best. It goes off your facilities, and obviously Blackburn Rovers has good facilities for a Cat 1. So we play teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, City, play everyone in the Premier League and all that. So last week we played Arsenal. We went to Arsenal training ground, so we played there. That was a good experience. It was massive. I know Blackburn's got a good training ground, but the pitches at Arsenal are amazing. All the facilities and that.
So, as for your future, what are the aims and objectives then? Is it to progress through the scholarship and then make it professionally?
Hopefully in the 2 years I'll find out if I get my pro contract, and obviously I'll play first team football for Blackburn because I've been there all my life.
So that was Harrison Wood there. We wish him all the best with his career in the future. And Mark, while we're still on the subject of football, next Friday, just before the Manchester derby, we've got a special show.
Yeah, so from 7 till 9 here on Tameside Radio, please join us as we'll be doing a special Derby Day special. We'll be joined by a lot of special guests, former United and City associates, players, all that kind of stuff. Georgie will be here. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a great debate ahead of the fixture. You know, that fixture, I think United, given Aguero's meant to be out, maybe United can just defy the odds. Who knows?
We're not here to talk about that, Mark. That is for next Friday's show, and I will not have any of that on here. No, it'll be brilliant. It'll be brilliant. So you can all listen to that between 7 and 9. We've got some big guests coming down. I'm not going to name any names. Keep an eye on our socials.
Yeah, we'll be revealing over next week, Yeah,
keep an eye out on our socials throughout the week. And as well, keep an eye out for me and Mark on Monday. If you are in Ashton Town Centre, myself and Mark will be in Ashton. We want to speak to a few of you about the derby on the weekend. We're going to be doing coming down with a camera, getting a few views, and just trying to see what everyone's thinking. I can't wait for that, Mark. That'll be brilliant.
I can't wait for it. It's always good to get the opinions of just, local people that maybe can't afford to get to the games but still have a love for each club, and I can't wait. These are the people that make football what it is.
Absolutely. So if you do see me and Mark down there, please feel free to come and have a chat with us. Even if you don't want to air your view on camera, just come and have a chat. Speak to us about what you think about the network and how we're doing here at Quest Media Network. So speaking of Quest Media Network, Quest Media Network is delighted to announce a new partnership with Oldham RLFC ahead of the 2020 season in the Betfred Championship. Mark, tell us a little bit more about it. It's huge news, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've developed this relationship with Oldham Ruffiads. They'll be playing their fixtures at Stalybridge Celtics Bowerfold next season. So as part of the relationship, we'll be going filming home match highlights. We'll be getting pre and post match interviews and doing some, a few quirky things with the players at training. It's going to be great for the club. It will be great for Quest Media Network. I can't wait for it. For me, as a football fan, it'll be a little bit different because it'll be my first venture into rugby league. But you know what? I can't wait. It's a real man's game, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
Your first venture, and by the end of it, you'll be playing, mate. You'll be
maybe. I have to put a bit of weight on, though. A bit of weight.
You'll be lining up. So the new home of really the Ruffiads will be here on the Saturday Sports Show, won't it?
Yeah, it will. So, like I said, as part of the relationship, if you want to find out the latest at the club, we'll be playing regular clips each Saturday ahead of Sunday's fixtures. And yeah, like I said, you can also check out questmedianetwork.co.uk, our social media pages on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll always be uploading clips and stuff like that. And don't forget to pick up a copy of the papers as well. That's Tameside Reporter, Oldham Reporter and Glossop Chronicle for the latest sporting news in and around the borough.
And just a little teaser as well. Watch out for January with Mark. That's all I'm going to say. Keep an eye out on the socials, keep an eye out on the videos. Mark will be doing some stuff in January. I can't wait to see how that turns out. So as part of our relationship with Oldham Ruffiads, we went down to the club's first pre-season training session last week and spoke to head coach Matt Diskin and chairman Chris Hamilton. Here's what they had to say ahead of the new season in the Championship.
We're a little bit low on numbers. We've still got some recruitment to do and still got to add to that squad there. But really happy with the condition they came back in. But we're a little bit light in a couple of areas, particularly front row. We need a bit more depth there, and it's not a big enough squad. It's not a big enough squad to compete in the Championship. So we know we've got some areas to address there. The issue we're having is the quality of players. There's not much out there. They've all been snapped up, and that's the downside of the success we had last year coming up from the division below is we're into the market later than everybody else. But we're working hard to correct that.
And looking at some of the players that have been retained, Phil Joy, for example, why have you kept him at the club?
He's a fantastic player. He's an Oldham lad through and through, and he's had a fantastic, probably his best year in an Oldham shirt last year. He's a big, solid front row, a great leg dyer after contact. We'd be silly not to keep him.
Ben Davis has signed as well.
Ben Davis re-signed, so another middle there. Ben were missing tonight due to work commitments, but Ben's another one. If we can keep him fit and healthy and on the training field, he's a quality player.
From now until your first pre-season game at Barrow, how many sessions will you be doing a week?
Well, there's 3 sessions a week, so anything between 3 to 4 hours a week on the field isn't enough to really see the developments you want, but we've got to be planned correctly, make sure we've got everything lined up so we get the best out of that limited time we've got.
And looking at that Barrow game, I know it's become quite a tradition for Ruffiads to play in it. Is it something you're looking forward to?
It is, it's going to be an opportunity for us to blow the cobwebs after Christmas and the New Year, test some of the systems and structures out we've put into place over pre-season, and also from a team bonding aspect as well. We'll probably use that weekend to knock all three of those things off.
Yeah, it was good to see the lads, and as always happens, I had some of them texting me saying, when we're going to be back in. I mean, during the season they can't wait for a break, and then as soon as they get one, they look forward to being back and that camaraderie, and obviously they've done some fitness testing tonight, which Matt's pleased with, so we're off and running now.
And talking of Matt, have you been happy with the way he's gone about signings?
Yeah, we've spoken regularly and met regularly, and it's a very important part of the season's planning, getting the right players in and what have you, and we're happy with where we are squad-wise at the moment, although we're not finished yet.
What do you make of the Betfred Championship this season? Do you think it's going to be a pretty tough league?
Without any shadow of a doubt. We've said that numerous occasions already, and if you look at the fixtures, there are no easy games, but don't want anybody to be under any illusions. We definitely want to be in this division and challenging ourselves, and we've had a meeting prior to the start of training tonight, and Matt has made it clear what the expectations are and what we need to do to be competitive, and everybody buys into that.
And looking at the season, home games will be played at Stalybridge Celtics Bowerfold again. Can you tell us about the reason for that move?
Yeah, basically the Vestaker Stadium where we are now, where we do all our training, and obviously we've played for the last few years, doesn't meet the minimum standards for the championship, so unfortunately in one way we've had to move back to Bowerfold, but I think all those people who've been to Bowerfold recognise it as a really good stadium, good playing surface, and one that we want to try and make sure is our home while we're there.
And has that deal come through Celtic chairman Rob Gorski?
Yeah, myself and Rob, since we first went there in 2016, have become good friends. Spoke to him today actually, and yeah, they were very keen for us to go back there. And obviously once it became clear that we couldn't stay here, we were happy to conclude that deal with them.
And looking at the season, 10 weeks away now, what are the aims and objectives, would you say, given the budget you've got and the players at your disposal?
Yeah, well, it's quite clear really. Our main aim is to stay in the championship, and that doesn't mean that we're not ambitious to be challenging and what have you, but we're also realistic, and we know how tough the division is, so that's the aim.
So that was Oldham Ruffians there, as Mark there was joined by Matt Diskin and Chairman Chris Hamilton, and that's about all we've got time for the local sport today. So Mark, thank you very much for coming in.
Pleasure,
really
George.
Appreciate it. You have fun on your Saturday, pottering about somewhere, I imagine. And like you said before, if they want any of the local sport news, they can go to questmedianetwork.co.uk.
That's right, and I also must say, if we are or are you a part of a club that we don't yet feature, maybe you're an individual, then please get in touch with us, because we always want new sports. If you want to get in touch, my email is mark.phillip@questmedianetwork.co.uk, and Philip is spelled with one L.
Alternatively, there is george.clayton@questmedianetwork.co.uk. Whichever one you got to get in touch with is fine. You say about new sports, underwater hockey on Sunday.
Yeah,
Mark.
I'm going to Zarifa Underwater Hockey Club. They're based at Medlock at the moment, so that should be interesting. Not sure if I'll get my swimming trunks on just yet, but yeah, we'll definitely have a video out on Monday at some point, so keep an eye out for that.
Perfect, Mark. Thanks for coming in. We're going to go to a little ad break now, and then afterwards we'll have our rundown towards 3 o'clock kickoffs. We've got some great games on today, so don't go anywhere. We've got every goal as it happens up and down the country and our local games here on the Saturday Sports Show with Tameside Radio.